Well, we had the go-home show for Survivor Series last night on Monday Night Raw. What exactly happened, and what is the most talked about controversial segment that has one superstar's mother actually disgusted with what they had to say on Monday Night Raw? Well, we're going to talk about it on this week's Monday Night Raw review, powered by Google Hangouts. Hey, YouTube, are you ready for your hot tag? Because if you are, it is time to work.
Hey, this is Purple Haze, and you're watching WGS-TV.
Greetings, YouTube. You have warped away into another episode of WGS-TV right here on YouTube.com/WrestleGamer. I am the WrestleGamer. No, Billy Bujo. Today is Tuesday, November 17th, 2015. And before we get everything started, guys and gals, I've got a little something to say. If you guys have been following current events as of late, there was a heinous assault, a heinous terrorist attack in Paris, France, over this past weekend. And I just want to throw out, my condolences to the people of Paris, and also my condolences to all the people who lost their loved ones in that heinous assault by terrorists in Paris. So, again, I just hope everything just starts to get better from here on out, and there are no more terrorist attacks, especially anywhere. But again, that's just wishful thinking on my part. And I thought the terrorist attacks in Paris were just something that shouldn't have been done, but apparently some people decided, hey, I'm just going to wipe out somebody's life for no apparent reason. But anyway, guys and gals, let's go ahead and get to the Monday Night Raw review. Joining me on the review this week, first off, ladies and gentlemen, he is the host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio himself, Rick Head. Rick, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing all right, and again, pray for Paris, and hope the guys recover from that. And it was just unneeded, and it's.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? I have to say one thing, and I'm glad that Paris took immediate action and dropped some bombs on the fuckers. That's how you take care of that terrorism. You don't fuck around, you don't wait, you don't be political, you just take action.
Yeah, because sometimes it's better. Actions do speak louder than words, in my personal opinion, and there's a lot of truth into that statement. And also, ladies and gentlemen, joining us, he's our resident music mogul over on YouTube.com/LanceMossTV is the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, how you doing?
I'm doing better than Charlie Sheen.
Poor Charlie.
Poor Charlie. Poor Charlie. And we're not saying that to be condescending whatsoever. Well, maybe. But anyway.
I think we should put him on You Bastard Award. You poor bastard.
Yeah, definitely candidate.
Yeah, it's all that tiger blood he was going on about. They finally caught up with them. But anyway, let's talk about the opening segment of Monday Night Raw with the Undertaker and Kane coming out there. When we saw the usage of the Druids, Rick, I kind of figured that in one way, shape, or form, that they were going to play a part into the actual promo in itself. Especially when the Wyatt family came out there, it was just almost a little too obvious what they were going to do right there.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. But the problem the first hint should have been is when they didn't come out with fire. Because every time we've seen the Druids come out, they came out with, first off, they had the masks. They didn't come, and secondly, they usually come out with the torches, the whole theatrics, and it just didn't happen. I was like, I found it a little peculiar, and even Andy said he saw it coming a mile away, and you know what? I guess maybe I just wasn't paying attention close enough because I was doing the report while watching Raw.
Well, I gotta say though, Lance, the Druid that took the chokeslam spot with the Undertaker, he got up there, man. I mean, he took like a gigantic leap for that. Undertaker was probably like, why is this guy jumping this high?
Well, when you think about it, Undertaker had him by the belt, so he went as high as Taker wanted him to go.
Well, yeah, you got a point there. But that's pretty much how the whole segment. A lot of people were expecting them to reveal which two members of the Wyatt family were going to be in the tag team match at Survivor Series. They did not do that. I don't know why people were expecting that to happen. I think it might be better to save that for the actual pay-per-view and keep people speculating on which two members of the Wyatt family are actually going to be involved in the match. To me, I think that's a much better idea to keep people waiting until they actually reveal which two will be in the match instead of just revealing it a week ahead of time. But then again, that's just a matter of personal preference for me, Rick.
it's one of those things. I guess it's kind of a give and take, and I'm sure they're trying to speed things up a little bit, especially with Survivor Series being right around the corner.
Yeah, you got a point. Speaking of which, guys and gals, also don't forget that this Sunday will be the live reactions commentary for Survivor Series. So if you're tired of hearing Michael Cole, JBL, and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary, hey, come hang out with us. Have a good time, talk some wrestling, and just getting your honest reactions and comments towards Survivor Series during the show. But anyway, speaking of that, Neville and Kevin Owens. You want to talk about a strong start to Monday Night Raw. Because when I say finish, I mean Kevin Owens and Neville can main event any pay-per-view, any show, anywhere. They have that capability. We've seen them do it in NXT, Rick time in and time out, and they put off some amazing matches. And to me, this matchup on Monday Night Raw, as far as I'm concerned, did not disappoint.
No, it was a very good match. I thought kind of just the way that Kevin Owens was dominating the match, I had this weird feeling that it was going to be, one of those matches where you dominate, and then the other guy pulls off a finisher, and thankfully it didn't come out to be that way. There was a couple of botches, but, any match that could possibly happen. Overall, good match.
I got to say, the last couple of matches with Kevin Owens kind of had that formula, albeit in the opposite direction in a sense, where Kevin Owens was getting dominated, then one pop-up powerbomb later, he would win the match. So it's kind of an unusual kind of match formula to have to work with. Even though your friend Andy, the paranormal investigator, you guys have another name for him, still really doesn't like Kevin Owens very much at all.
The name is Son of a Bitch.
Okay. But anyway, up next we would have Tyler Breeze and R-Truth, and Lance, this was just way too obvious in my opinion.
Yeah, I just thought, not EC3's music, but I thought jobber.
Yeah, pretty much, and I think that's a shame, but hey, as long as R-Truth's earning a paycheck, I mean, I guess he'll do whatever it takes to get to earn some money, you know what I mean? Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. Holy crap, this was an amazing match. Yeah, I gotta say, I love the spots, but I don't agree with them trying to make Dolph Ziggler the next Shawn Michaels, Rick. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, and that's one of the major issues with WWE today, is they're trying to recreate or rehash legends. You have LOD, the Ascension being like the LOD, Bray Wyatt, I think to a point, they're trying to make him like the next Phenom, so to speak, and I think it was more better if they kind of followed along with the Charles Manson gimmick, which he kind of has, but it looks like they're trying to go into evolve him into the Undertaker gimmick, and it's really just not going to work. HBK said this a few weeks ago, and I truly believe it. I was never worrying about being somebody else. I was only worrying about being me, and that is the best advice that any wrestler should take.
Now, to a point, I can kind of understand him doing his own version of Sweet Chin music, especially when he was doing the classic HBK moves, the stomping on the ground and whatnot, to possibly pay respect to Shawn Michaels and what he did. From that standpoint, I can understand it. But when you start putting the guy in gear that looks like him, Lance, and start doing moves that he used to do, then that might be a different issue.
Yeah. Well, of the rehashes, I think Dolph does the best, but still.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I'll say this: I'm a fan of both Ziggler and Ambrose. Big marks for them, but Yeah,
I kind of get what you're saying with that one. Ambrose would end up hitting the Dirty Deeds on Dolph Ziggler to advance into the semifinals. Up next, the New Day. One thing we got to say about Andy, he is a closet unicorn. I'm probably going to get some hate from Andy about that one. Because I'll never wear a New Day t-shirt. Well, he's got some in his closet right now. taking on the Usos and Ryback. Kind of an unusual finish right here, Rick. Wouldn't you say, with Ryback shoving the referee and the match just ends up, they end up getting disqualified? I mean,
you know what? I'm going to answer that, and I honestly think that probably was the best way to do it because, you know, if I'm not mistaken, the Usos is facing New Day at Survivor Series. Am I correct on that one?
I believe you are.
Okay, so if you don't really want either one to win, you kind of had to end it like that, so that way it just, when they have that match, you really want to, it's not as overdone. You didn't want a clear-cut winner. And honestly, I think the 6-man tag was probably the better way to do it, just so long as they don't do it again or have a singles match on SmackDown tonight, which the SmackDown tapings is what I'm referring to.
Cesaro and Roman Reigns. There are not enough words in the English language right now, Lance, that could possibly convey the feelings that I have about how Cesaro's just completely being overlooked in WWE by Vince McMahon. And, you know, we talk about it week in and week out, especially when Cesaro has amazing matches on Monday Night Raw. And last night was really one of the best I have seen out of him.
Yeah, with Vince, it's like, I've said this before, Vince hadn't known what's hip since the new generation. The Attitude Era was people telling him what's cool. His was like golden era and new generation. Then he knew what was cool. Now he don't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
Well, let me ask y'all this question, and Lance, I'm going to start with you. Do you think it's possibly time now for Triple H to start taking control of the main roster?
Well, I'm going to answer that in 2 words. Hell yes.
Rick, what about you?
The problem is, I think a lot of people agree that it's time for Vince to step down, but unfortunately, this is his empire that you beat, and it's like a king trying to step down from the throne. They're not going to do it until God forbid they pass on. It's just the way it's going to be, and I do believe that Vince has lost the plot.
Exactly, especially when you look at probably one of the best pound-for-pound superstars and talents he has right now in WWE, in Cesaro. Now, it's not to take away anything from Roman Reigns and what he has done and what he's accomplished so far. And trust me, when Roman Reigns first debuted in WWE as part of the Shield, I was not a big Roman Reigns mark at all. In fact, I always talk down about the guy, about how he's got no mic skills whatsoever. He's always robotic sounding. Like, I am Roman Reigns, believe that, and I just shat all over Roman Reigns, but he's come a long way. He has improved quite a bit, and he's gotten really a lot better in ring. So it's not to take anything away from Roman Reigns and what he's done, but Cesaro being completely overlooked, I think, is possibly one of the worst mistakes Vince McMahon could ever make. But it's just a matter of personal opinion for me.
Cesaro is probably one of the bigger guys, and I mean, obviously they're trying to work and slowly rebuild the roster, and Cesaro has been overlooked. Even the legend Mick Foley said that, as well as that, he's a guy, he should be one of the, top tier guys, and right now he's only at the middle, and why that is, again, it's Vince McMahon. Feels that he's not over the crowd, and that's just obviously not the case.
Especially when WWE.com conducted a poll recently stating before Monday Night Raw of which one of these superstars you want to see win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in the tournament, and the person that took most votes, 36%, was Cesaro. So if it's not more clear-cut that Cesaro is over with the fans, Vince McMahon, what other evidence do you need for that? To come to that conclusion that Cesaro can be your it guy.
Well, Billy, if I may, you're actually thinking that Vince gives a damn what the fans want. He's even said this in standing in the ring before. You don't tell me what you want, I tell you what you want.
And that's pretty much why Vince McMahon has lost the plot.
Exactly.
The Dudley Boys taking on the Ascension. Do we really need to talk about this? Dudley Boys hit the 3D on Victor to pick up the win.
And we're done.
Yeah, pretty much.
And real quick, I want to just talk about that. You know, the problem is the Ascension just can't seem to get out of the gate. And whether that's Vince McMahon's ruling or
Creative.
it could even be creative. It's just, you know, they're a complete joke. And when they were down at NXT, they were the most dominant tag team before they came up. Go
ahead.
It just shows that when you're down at NXT, no matter how successful you are, when you get up to the main roster, everything is forgotten. You know, look at Big E. Big E was the NXT champion, and he got pushed. Now he's in New Day, which is not bad. You know, hypothetically, Finn Balor could come up to the main roster, and he could be right where the Ascension is.
Which is one reason he doesn't want to come up yet.
Exactly.
I still say if if Creative would have allowed the Ascension to go up with the original dark gimmick of the Ascension instead of the Mad Max LOD style that we see today, I think that could be a more viable version of the Ascension than what we got today. But apparently WWE and Creative want to make them into jokes, even though they were highly over in NXT and highly over as one of the dominant tag teams in NXT. And again, apparently Creative say, no, it's just NXT, who cares about NXT? Well, how about the fans care about NXT? That's one of the reasons why we watch it. And we consider it to be a much better program than Monday Night Raw. This week's Monday Night Raw might be a different story, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Alberto Del Rio and Kalisto. Now, for those of you who follow the Facebook page, and notice that I did not put up a SmackDown review, I made a kind of like a nonsensical bet when Kalisto took on Ryback on SmackDown. And the bet that I made is that if Kalisto were to beat Ryback, that... Well, Rick, do you want to tell everyone what I said?
He only said that he would come out of the closet and realize he's a Duck man.
And he means the Anaheim Ducks of California.
Oh, I think Billy DuckTales. DuckTales, Billy.
Right, dang it. Rick, you're having microphone issues again. Yeah, as far as Kalisto and Alberto Del Rio, as far as that match is concerned, okay, note to Del Rio, and Lance, you probably agree with me, this was not a mask match. You were not supposed to pull the mask of Kalisto off of his face.
Yeah, if you saw the look on his face, shit. Oh, here you go.
Didn't he do that with Sin Cara one time? Because I remember that.
Well, at least got it up to like his nose or something. Like,
yeah, something to that extent. But all I'm gonna say is, you know, I wasn't ready to make a bold prediction like I did on SmackDown when it came to a Kalisto match, considering how badly I got burned by that.
You need some cream for that burn.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. I said I was gonna look for a girlfriend if Kalisto beat Ryback, and
well, time to get on.
Time to get on Match.com then, if I can afford it.
Also moving at fuckmefacebook.com.
And thank God your microphone ain't working right now, Rick, because I don't know.
Fuck me, Facebook.
You don't hear me at all?
No, are you downloading something?
No. Hold on, let me get up.
Yeah, while Rick is doing that, let us slowly segue into the main event segment, which is something that that hasn't been done on Monday Night Raw in quite some time, and it's the fact that the Divas actually a Diva segment main events on Monday Night Raw. We haven't seen that in quite some time, not since Charlotte. Not since Trish Stratus and Lita did they have something like that. I'm not even sure if they've done something like that before, as we got a little kid right here who's apparently laughing at everything I have to say, even though she doesn't know what I'm talking about. She's just looking at me and going. But anyway, the contract signing between Charlotte and Paige for the Divas Championship, they needed to do something, I'm going to have to say memorable, controversial and big to actually close out a Monday Night Raw, and it kind of accomplished that in a sense in my mind. Rick, are you still having microphone issues?
How's it working now?
Still the same. Still the same.
All right, I'm gonna have to reboot.
All right, while Rick is doing that, they had to do something in my mind, Lance, controversial, big, and memorable to close out a Monday Night Raw, and the reference they made about Charlotte's little brother Reed, without even saying his name, she just said little brother. They never said his name per se. I just want people to know that for sure. That even though the reference was there, we all knew who Charlotte's little brother is, Reed Flair. We know that. His actual name wasn't said on the air in the promo, but in a way, I can kind of see the reason why the usage of that was actually kind of necessary to kind of put the segment over. Rick, are you still having microphone issues?
How's it sound now? Any better?
A lot better.
Yeah,
better.
I had to reboot Google Hangout.
All right, but in a sense, what I'm saying, Rick, even though they never really, we knew the reference that who Charlotte's little brother was, Reed Flair, without them even having to physically say his name. But in a sense, when you're the main event segment of Monday Night Raw, you're closing out the show, you need to have something big, memorable, and controversial, in a sense, to close out a show, especially a go-home show to Survivor Series. And I personally believe Charlotte and Paige delivered.
You know what? Let me cut you right there, and I'm going to tell you something. There's a line you got to draw. If that was, somebody else saying, hey, the fat boy Dusty Rhodes, I'm glad he's gone, people would be freaking out. The only reason why people don't care as much is because Reed Flair was not a wrestling superstar. He was not publicly known. He was only known because he was a Flair. And I'm sorry, what they did was kind of really out of order, and it didn't have to go that far. They were doing
it speaks to the controversial nature of the promo, and it speaks to the fact that, again, in all honesty, Rick, in your personal opinion, if they had not gone that route, if they had not gone the controversial route about speaking about Charlotte's little brother in that sense, in that promo, to ignite the fire and the fight between them that happened after Paige made the comment about Charlotte's little brother, do you feel that segment should have been the main event segment of your go-home show to Survivor Series?
I feel that they could have honestly have gone a different route, and I feel it would have had just the same impact. You look at all the other contract signings that we've seen throughout the years, and they've never gotten that personal, and you know what? It still works. You know what I mean? It was just, I think they went a little step too far. I think with all the other things that they talked about how you're not really, Paige is not really being a champion because, you want people to grow up to be just like you. They went that route and it was really working. You could see that they were really, and all she had to do is, take a cheap shot. Paige took a cheap shot, while she's signing, and just grab her hair and slam her head on the table. You know what I mean? They could have gone in so many different routes.
But do you, Lance, in your personal opinion, because when Charlotte started referencing her little brother, you kind of had the sense that the cheap shot was going to be coming from Paige and a rebuttal. Do you feel that, was this maybe a step too far, or was this something that was actually needed and necessary to put more heat on Paige for their match at Survivor Series?
Well, it's kind of a catch-22, because they needed to up the personal aspect of it, but the WWE has crossed that line a couple of times before. Like, let's face it, Paul Bearer, in the Taker Punk thing.
Another one to actually think about too is Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, and Rey Mysterio's son.
Mm-hmm. But also, I kind of think that if I guarantee that they had at least Ric Flair's approval, said they was okay with him to do that.
Yeah, but the Ric Flair's, Charlotte's mother, Elizabeth Flair, sent out a tweet basically voicing her disgust and her disapproval of Charlotte and Paige both mentioning Reed Flair in their promo last night. To a point, you know, she's speaking as a mother, and she has every right to be disgusted and disapprove of what WWE is doing. But in hindsight's 2020, you know, you're trying to put over your match. You're trying to you're in the main event segment of Monday Night Raw, and typically the divas as of late haven't done main event or main. Let me rephrase that: main roster divas. We've seen the NXT divas highlight and main event NXT shows and done spectacular jobs of that. But main roster divas, especially with the level of talent they've had to work with as of late, really shouldn't be put in the pedestal of your main event show, of the main event of your show. And I think, you know, be it as controversial as it was, for them to bring up a segment like that, for them to basically, quote, go there in that promo, I believe was necessary. Yeah, because it brings the controversial, it brings heat into it. It brings, you know, a memorable factor into it, because let's face it, a lot of people will be talking about this for quite some time, even after Survivor Series over, about that segment, that point where Paige took a cheap shot at Charlotte Flair's little brother, and it ignited the feud between the two. It's going to have people talking for quite some time, and when you have people like us talking about it, especially the day after it, then, and personally, in my mind, it accomplished what it set out to do.
But I think, you know, as Charlotte Flair's mother said, yeah, it was heat, but it was cheap heat, and that's all it was. You can cut that any way you want. It was nothing more than cheap heat. It was not necessary. You know, if you
let me ask you this. Is cheap heat better than no heat?
They had heat. They just didn't need to go that far. Again, I can't reiterate this so much, because you don't, you know, I can understand going into your personal life, but going to a personal life where you lost a brother and then bring that up, I'm sorry, man. That's just, there's a line you cross. That line should not have been crossed, and that was unnecessary heat, unnecessary cheap heat. And, you know, they were both having heat. That feud has been boiling over the past couple of weeks. It wasn't necessary to go there in any shape or form.
Overall score on Monday Night Raw this week, but I gotta tell you guys, this go-home show for Survivor Series was actually really well done. It was a really good show. It had some great matches to talk about, and it had a very controversial and memorable ending to it as well. And when you have like a kind of that good dichotomy, you know, and when you have a strong opening, especially with The Undertaker and Kane and the Wyatt family, great matches like Roman Reigns and Cesaro, Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, and also Neville and Kevin Owens. And then you have a memorable, controversial finish like they had with Charlotte and Paige, and mentioning of her little brother in the feud and the fight they had after it. That really entails, to me, a good show, in my opinion. You know, because it leaves that thought in your head, like, man, they went there. Where are they going to go next? And I think that's what WWE as of late has been missing in their shows, is good matches, good strong openings, and good strong controversial finishes to their shows. And this show had that. So that's why, for the first time in quite some time, I'm going to give Monday Night Raw a 4 out of 5. Best match of the night, I'm definitely going to give it to Roman Reigns and Cesaro. And also with the honorable mentions to Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose, and especially a huge honorable mention to Kevin Owens and Neville. Worst match of the night, Tyler Breeze and R-Truth, with a dishonorable mention to the Ascension and the way WWE Creative has been using them. Anyway, that's been my thought. Rick, over to you. Your overall score and your picks for best and worst match or segment of Monday Night Raw.
Well, I have to agree with you that the Cesaro versus Roman Reigns match probably was one of the best matches of the night. A lot of good spots. There was a couple of one bad spot where Cesaro almost dislocated his elbow, but thankfully he had good ring presence to land his hand the right way.
But he made it look bad.
He did, yes, he did. And as far as the worst match, the Ascension versus the Dudleys. The problem was that was a perfect time to start getting the Ascension over, but unfortunately, we still have to worry about the nostalgia factor, which is unneeded at this point.
Yeah, because remember when Ascension first started on Monday Night Raw, they were cutting all these promos about how they were so much better than all these classic tag teams, and I think, now that you bring that up, that does bring up an interesting point. That if they really wanted to run with that gimmick with the Ascension, then last night they could have had like a disqualification finish and really start a rivalry between the Ascension and the Dudley Boys, and WWE just let that opportunity fly away. Yeah,
absolutely.
But you never put in your score.
A score, you know what? I'll give it a 3.75. There was some really great matches. As far as a go-home show, it was probably one of the stronger ones we've seen in quite some time.
Possibly, maybe, all year, maybe.
Considering right now this is the most memorable one, I'll agree with you on that one.
All right, and Lance, over to you. Your overall score and your picks for best and worst match or segment of Monday Night Raw.
3.9. Best match, got to go to the Ziggler and Ambrose because, well, those are my guys.
Yeah, you're a mark for both of them.
Yeah. Best segment, ending. Worst match, I got to give it to Tyler Bridge and R-Truth because just the predictability factor. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Nonsense. I think the last victory R-Truth had was against Wade Barrett.
I thought it was against Little Jimmy.
Might have been. But that didn't happen on TV. That happened somewhere else. But, anyway, guys and gals, what we want to know from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers, your thoughts on Monday Night Raw this week. What are your overall scores? What are your picks for best and worst match or segment of Monday Night Raw? Do you kind of agree with our assessments about the Paige Charlotte ending? Do you guys also believe that it was necessary for them in that promo to reference Charlotte's little brother to bring in more heat into the feud, or do you believe that they went too far in that promo by mentioning Charlotte's little brother? Definitely want to know what you guys out there have to say. Be sure to put your comments in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. All right, Rick, where can fans check you out on HWR?
They can always check us out on our group section under the name HWR Chat Room on Facebook.com. And please take a few seconds to subscribe to us over at YouTube.com/HWR Show, where tonight we will be doing the Survivor Series picks live. Get on over there and hang out with us.
Lance, where can fans expect to see when they come visit your channel over on YouTube.com/LanceMossTV?
Album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, Redneck Going McGuckin videos, musical equipment reviews, some rants, and every Wednesday I go live at 8 to 7 Central, whatever the hell it is on the West Coast. And I don't know who's going to show up. And, well, you can hit me up on Twitter. It's at LanceMossTV.
Will you please tell Elmo to stop sending me messages telling me to visit Sesame Street?
No, I will not.
WGS-TV.
Shucky Ducky Quack Quack.
WGS-TV is on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can ask me questions. Links will be provided in the description box below. Be sure you check out a couple of my playthroughs, like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. That's always been a nice and confusing time. And also the travels of Franbo and the troubles that she has are starting to get a little bit more precarious for her. What exactly am I talking about? Well, all you have to do, guys, is check out the videos in the annotations at the end of this video if you guys, and for your convenience. So, with that being said, guys and gals, for the hardcore host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, Rick Head, and the accountant, Lance Moss and Lance Moss TV, I'm the Wrestle Geek, Double B Billy Boudreaux, saying we'll see ya at the next Warp Zone.
Right.
There's one that looks like a little melted 6.
So we got the candelabra. What's the pie?
Creeper. But you all slimy and soft like dough. You're right, it may work. Here goes. And the frog